And we are back on the Irregulars. My name is Tom Alexander, along with Matt Posner and our guest Seth Lubin today. Seth, of course, a football, fantasy football guru. I like to refer
one of the original gurus.
One of the original, really, truthfully, right when fantasy was just really getting going. Seth was there, right?
Oh no, you have no idea. So so the first time I met Seth, let's just was 1985, 86 in Tampa, Florida at USF with Jeff Sponder, with Bruno, my brother. Who else was there? Mike was Mike there?
I don't think so. Not at that time.
Not at that time. And our fantasy league back then.
Oh yeah, Mike was in the league. Absolutely.
Mike was in the league.
Yeah.
We had this little pamphlet that we somehow found at a store that had everything that you needed in it, and everything we did was you had to get somebody. I think probably Seth did. I think most of the stats, but one person had to read the newspaper every Monday and Tuesday, and get the stats and figure out the points.
Yeah.
We didn't have internet back then.
Of course.
We really were some of the original fantasy football players.
Yeah.
I originally started playing fantasy on CompuServe back in the mid '80s.
Wow.
Well, it was CompuServe or Prodigy, but it was one of those early bulletin boards. And it was because the rotisserie baseball though had been around forever.
That had been around a long time.
Yeah.
So they were still trying to figure fantasy football out.
Right. They were. Yeah.
But yeah, Mike Routman and I actually got together and we were doing the CompuServe team together.
Huh.
And then we said, why can't we just do this on our own? And Matt got involved, and we got a bunch of people involved. That I'm actually back in that league now. I had gone out for many years. I'm back in, but it's interesting. Yeah, and it's still going on. That same original
Steve Scott.
League. Yep. That same league is still going on. And,
no way.
Yep.
Jeez. So a real history.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, 30, almost 40 years.
Yeah. And then in 1999. It would have been that football season, 99 into the 2000. I was a writer and a broadcaster at WAFN in Miami, and that's when I first
Tony Colladiu.
Now I had known you at this point for about 3 years.
Yep.
But you introduced me to Seth, and you guys were doing a show together on I think Sunday morning.
Sunday mornings, the Fantasy Gurus.
Fantasy Gurus.
And and really was a guru. I mean, it's like really should have been
a lot of fun.
Yeah, should have had the hat on.
Well, but my claim to fame though really is we had one Super Bowl that we played against each other, and I got the best of them.
Oh, you did, huh?
Well, not Matt so much as a kick returner for Atlanta Falcons. But it's okay. I even forget the kid's name.
Remember that, right?
You'll defer to Matt at least. Give him the credit.
Yes, I did. I have over the years.
Yeah, the coolest thing was he had this newspaper kind of thing put together, that was very cool. I think I still have that somewhere. I gotta find it.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
And I know that you said you want to talk about the NFL playoffs and
get
into that, but
before
before we do, real quick, I wanted to read some of these names off to you, and it's going to be obvious where these names are from, but there's a reason why I'm reading this. So, Tim Tebow, Greg McElroy, Cam Newton, A.J. McCarron, Jamison Winston, Cradle Jones, and Jake Coker.
Cardell Jones.
Cardell Jones and Jake Coker. So what do they all have in common?
National titles.
Right. These were all the quarterbacks who won the national titles. We got to add Deshaun Watson now into this. But when you look at this list, just Winston and Newton really ever made it.
Right.
To the level that we expected. And actually McCarron's twice. So I would say McCarron on there twice. Two of them are completely out of football now, or three of them are completely out of football. McElroy's out of football, Tebow's out of football, Coker's out of football.
What happened to Coker?
He was with Arizona, but he was released before they even got to the they trimmed him down at the 75 player mark. Jones is still on the Bills. McCarron is still on the Bengals, I believe, as a third option, and obviously Tebow and McElroy are out. And where does Deshaun Watson? I'm not suggesting that he's in that same level as some of the ones that we've been naming that are no longer in football. But the question is he a McCarron or is he a Cam Newton?
Well, first of all, let me just say this. This kid graduated in 3 years.
Yes. Very impressive.
Never got in trouble.
Right.
You never heard a bad word about this kid. They say he studies more film and he knows that offense better than the offensive coordinator knows it. I mean, they were saying that on the broadcast last night, that he's like having an offensive coordinator on the field. He's a big kid, can take a hit, runs fast.
Yep.
You know, he even alluded to how Vince Young was one of the guys that he watched growing up.
Yeah.
I would compare him to more of like a Vince Young than I would Cam Newton. I think that he's got a better head on his shoulders than a Cam Newton or a Vince Young.
Right.
I mean, this kid really is, you know, when you watch the post-game interview, this kid is as humble as they come. You know, he was very gracious.
Right.
And you know, they want to make it about him, but he wants to make it about his team.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is about the whole team.
Yeah.
I couldn't do this without these guys, and they couldn't do it without me. But
That's refreshing.
So will he disappear in obscurity, though, in Cleveland or San Francisco or Chicago? I mean,
look, it's all about the offensive line. If they put an offensive line in front of this kid, there's no telling what he can do. And I think that that's a lot of the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But to your point about all these guys, look, a guy like Steve Walsh won a title with Miami. Vince Young didn't make it in the NFL. A guy like Dorsey didn't make it.
Right.
You know, some of the other quarterbacks that have won national titles.
And how much did that offensive line in Dallas make Dak Prescott this year? I mean,
a lot, but you know,
Prescott's been making good choices, though.
Yeah.
And having the time to do that obviously helps.
But he's also got good receivers too. You know, you got a guy like Witten to throw to. You got a guy like Bryant. You got Beasley. You know, he's got a full complement of wide receivers, and it doesn't hurt that he's got one of the best running backs right now in the NFL in Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
So
coaching too.
and good coaching.
Yep.
But here's a kid that, again, why if you look at Prescott and why he went in the 4th round, which he got in a little bit of trouble. So teams shied away from him. That kid should have been an early 2nd round, maybe late 2nd round pick. He shouldn't have fallen where I watched him play in college. He basically carried Mississippi State for 3 years on his back and won games that Mississippi State had never won. So,
but the big question is, if you pick him up and put him in Cleveland, you take Cody Kessler and put him in Dallas, what are you going to see? And I know we can't do that. We always talked about, like when we were all younger, and we would talk about the fact that if Emmitt Smith was on another team without that offensive line in Dallas, what that would have been like. What if it had been Barry Sanders instead of Emmitt Smith? I think Barry Sanders would be, I mean,
still be
by
playing
far,
today.
Exactly. You know, he would have, he almost has every record, but he would have every record that there is. And obviously you can't do that, and it's fun to talk about. But my fear, I really think Deshaun Watson is going to be a good pro.
I think so.
Okay?
I really do.
I'm concerned. I'm not concerned for him. He's going to have plenty of money. But I hate when you get players like RG3 or people that look like they had potential in college. You put them on a team that isn't necessarily ready for them, and they can't do anything. And it's a shame. I want to see someone like Deshaun Watson succeed. I want to see them, be the next big thing.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. How many starting quarterbacks in the NFL won national titles right now? If you think about it.
Not a lot.
None.
Not a lot.
None.
Is it 0?
0.
It is 0.
Yeah. Who's playing on who's the quarterback for an NFL team that won a national title in college?
Yeah.
Jameis Winston, Cam Newton.
Okay, that's 2.
Right. But there's not a lot.
Not a lot.
I'm agreeing with
Those
you.
2. I forgot those 2.
All right.
That's it.
But your point's taken.
Yeah.
And you alluded to the NFL there, so let's jump ahead because we got the playoffs now, and let's face it, these wild card games.
Oh, they were brutal.
They were a little rough. I
They
mean,
were
they're
brutal.
really and you had the 2 games on Saturday and then 2 on Sunday, and your guy. Listen, my guys didn't even get to the dance. At least your 2 teams did. The Dolphins lost big to Pittsburgh, and the Giants.
Oh, that was a disaster.
Just didn't bring it against Green Bay.
Yeah, they were still on that boat in Miami everybody's talking about.
Yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it?
But the other thing that hurt the Giants too was this whole NYPD coming out with that later, earlier in the week, which I think, that right away you put a target on your back when you start doing things like that. And I think when you're going up against a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who is arguably one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen in a long time, and
Pro's pro.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
he's going to make you pay for a comment
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And it was just, I mean, the Giants came out and Green Bay couldn't get anything done offensively, and it looked like it was going to be a runway. And then the Giants kicked 2 field goals. If one of those is a touchdown, I think you have a different outcome to that game. So
What about weather?
Weather wasn't a factor in that game at all.
No, but over you know, like the Dolphin game, for example, I don't know if that was a factor. I know the Dolphins didn't really have a defense, but even in the Green Bay game, when the weather is so cold, it kind of changes the game plan a little bit. I don't think it's the same team that we would see a month ago on either side of the ball. I'm just throwing that out there, and I know that's football. That's playoff football always usually goes through Green Bay or New York or New England or places, Pittsburgh, you know, places where they do have cold. But
Yeah.
It almost like the Deshaun Watson comment, it bothers me because you don't see the quality of football when you have that kind of weather that you would normally see a few months earlier.
Right.
And I know this is football, but you know, it was, and I agree with your comment on the break. The quality of these games
They were terrible.
over the weekend.
Yeah, I
was
mean,
just,
But let me ask
So
you this.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
You're talking about bad weather, and I couldn't agree with you more. It definitely has an effect, and it can affect the quality. But do the real great players, that you know, are those guys? Do they shine even more in those adverse conditions? You know, where you're looking at it's like, wow, you know, it's 0, and this guy's putting up an amazing game in 0 degrees. You know, does that count for anything? And you know, I think the really great teams. Let's face it. Somebody has to go through a cold weather city almost every time to get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. So, just wondering, you know, I know it was at home. Pittsburgh was at home and had the home crowd behind them, but let's face it, Bell was, you know, ridiculous in that game. And,
look, Antonio Brown played a nice game. Harrison played a nice game on the defensive side of things. You know, he looked like he was in his 20s again, the way that guy was
but
playing.
you have to realize that the game plan changed because of the weather.
Sure.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, number one, had to do a lot more running than they had normally throughout the season. They did a lot of the quick slants. They did a lot of short throws. The 2 of the Brown touchdowns were short throws,
Right.
where he just ran through the Dolphin Swiss cheese. So the game plan changed in Pittsburgh's favor, and it's not sour grapes. I do believe Pittsburgh is a much better team than Miami. I'm okay with the result, but weather had to alter that. And to answer your question, sure, you give a credit to the people that can overcome those issues or adversity or anything like that. I'm just saying the quality of football, why I like watching football, is for a lot of things I didn't get to see over the weekend.
Yeah.
Remember last year's wild card weekend? Every away team won.
This
Yeah.
week, and this weekend.
And they were great games.
They
They
were
were
great
good
games.
games. And this year, it wasn't, again, it was because of the Dolphins necessarily, because even on Saturday, I just kept watching Houston thinking, God, I wish we could have played Houston.
right.
But,
Yeah.
you know, just terrible games. It's going to be much better this coming weekend.
It should be.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
What do you think about having if we didn't want to make weather a factor in football, let's say, and every stadium was domed, you know, how do you think that would change the whole? First of all, would you like it, and B, is it something that you think would really change the outcome of a lot of games played?
I don't know, because you have... Look, I love watching New Orleans play. I love watching Atlanta play, because when you're on that turf, things just go faster. Things just seem a little different. But that, again, benefits certain players, like Freeman, like, you know, people that can do the stop and cut, and the people that can work on turf like that, people who don't necessarily need the grass. So I can't answer your question, because as a Dolphin fan my whole life, it's been grass. Well, I guess in the early 70s they were playing on
That's
AstroTurf.
right on that hard AstroTurf.
Yeah, but the point is, you know, I'm used to watching football in grass. It's hard to say, let's just get rid of that. And I don't think I'm looking for a solution. I'm just saying that sometimes when you have to go through cold weather, it kind of dilutes the quality of what I'm used to seeing. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to come up with a solution. I don't think they need to go to domes necessarily. remember
And
last
also
year?
for the fan. I mean, let's face it, for the fans. It would be a lot better for fans too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are fans that love sitting out in that cold
I know.
weather.
I ain't one of them.
One of my greatest moments was when the Giants beat the 49ers back in 80, what was it, or 89, 90 season when they won their second Super Bowl, and sitting in Giant Stadium in the end zone, and it was, 8 degrees, and I had,
And you like that.
and I grew up in Florida, and I hadn't been up here in a while, and I up in New York, and I froze my butt off, but it was fun.
Or tushy.
Tushy
Yeah.
butt. Tushy.
To keep with a theme.
The
Right.
theme, right? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Took us, right? You're took us.
But what about like last year when they had the Super Bowl in New York, and there was a lot of controversy about should the Super Bowl be in a cold weather venue?
That was actually 2 years ago already.
Was that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And they were hoping, some people who were against it were hoping it would snow and that we'd see how terrible. It actually was fine. It turned out to be a good venue, and
But there was a lot of uncertainty leading up to the game.
Absolutely.
It had snowed the 2 days before,
Right.
and they
some
didn't know
people
what.
couldn't make it over.
Couldn't
right.
make it to the game. So, yeah, that was. But look, they've had the game in Indianapolis. They've had the game in Minnesota in the domes. And I think Minnesota's going to be hosting, I think, next year.
Are they?
I think, and then Indianapolis will get it back. But look, even the game out in San Francisco.
Yeah.
With and that you never know what's going to happen in Santa Clara. With the weather. That's a hit or miss.
But is the desire to have the Super Bowl in a venue where you don't have to worry about the weather as a factor, and now we're back to that, is that more about the game itself, or more about, as you said 2 years ago with the Giants, with Giant Stadium, about the fans, about all the activities that surround the NFL experience, not being able to have the outdoor games, not being able to have people fly in and not worry about. The NFL obviously cares. They don't want the weather to be bad.
Well, look, the reason why the Dolphins now have a quasi roof on their stadium is because of the Chicago-Baltimore
The rain, the Indy.
and the rain, and look, the NFL was real clear. Put a roof on that stadium, and you're not getting a Super Bowl again.
Right. So they care about the weather.
They care about the weather.
Yeah,
It
sure.
is important.
Yeah.
But knowing the NFL, it's probably not due to the integrity of the game itself.
No.
No.
No,
There goes my theory.
No,
about-
integrity in NFL.
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah, Army
But-
intelligence.
Yeah, that's.
So let's quickly go through the games, and we'll get your take on these games. So Saturday, we've got Seattle at Atlanta. Seattle at Atlanta.
That's an interesting game.
number one defense against number one offense.
Yep.
That I love that. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are great matchups.
Yeah.
And Seattle has to travel.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a little bit of an issue. It's an indoor game.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Seattle being an outdoor team, nothing's
Right.
going to affect them there
Right.
as far as that.
The Sherman-Julio matchup is
Yep.
going to be very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
But Julio's not 100% either.
right, and Seattle though without Chancellor, is it?
Yeah.
No, without the other safety. They are not the same team.
No.
They're still a very good team. Don't get me wrong. They're just not the same team. But Atlanta doesn't have a defense.
No.
Russell Wilson will probably be able to pick them apart. I'm looking forward to it as not caring which team wins. From a football perspective, it's going to be a lot of scoring, probably, and I'm looking forward to that one. I don't even have a prediction on that. I don't know if you-
All right, maybe we can wrangle a prediction out of somebody here
I
before.
think Atlanta.
You like
I like
Atlanta.
the home game. You like the home
I
team.
like the home
I'm
team.
gonna go
Seattle
home.
having to travel, and they're not 100%.
I'm gonna go home with that one as well. Take Atlanta, and also this other Saturday game, and that's the night game, and it is I think we all know who we'd like to win and who we think will win, but it's Houston at New England, and I don't just see how any way Houston wins that game.
Is this the largest spread ever in
It's
in
gotta be.
a divisional series
It's got
playoff game?
Playoff game.
Is it? It might
What is
be.
it? 14,
I think
15?
it's 14.
Or
15. I'm seeing 15 here.
15.
So it's
That's
fine.
got to be the largest
Yeah,
point spread.
yeah, it's pretty huge. So I think
And
we're all in
again,
agreement.
Osweiler didn't play terrible on Saturday.
He didn't play New England defense.
No, I know, but he managed the game well. Look, Oakland has a very good defense. Oakland's defense was solid all year. They were just on the field
Their
too long.
cornerbacks are questionable. Obviously Mack is beyond
No, he's a
everyone
beast.
else. They don't really have a full team defense. The other teams scored against them, but they just seem to be able to score more to win. Look, I think we know New England's probably going to win this game.
Right.
I like looking at the fact of what will it mean if Houston wins. Will that be one of the greatest upsets in football?
I mean, did anyone have Clemson yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, people had
People
Clemson.
said if there was one team that could beat Alabama,
It was Clemson.
Yeah.
That was the only team that could. The only team that had a shot to beat Alabama was Clemson, just because of how well they knew them and,
Right.
and the matchups.
Right.
The match again. If sports is all about matchups, and the matchups really favored Clemson last night.
Yeah. So jumping ahead to Sunday's games, and we got Pittsburgh. We got the Steelers at Arrowhead at Kansas City. So who do we like there?
Again, that's a tough game.
Yeah, that's
weather's going to be an issue
Yeah.
there, probably. I'm sure it always is during the playoff time.
The
Look,
12th man in Kansas City is always a factor.
yeah, but the fact that Kansas City lost a couple of games at home down the stretch is a little concerning for if you're a Kansas City fan.
Right.
And Pittsburgh is they're firing on all cylinders at the right time right now.
I think that, again, back to your comment about the matchups, and I think Kansas City matches up. Kansas City's defense matches up very well with Pittsburgh's offense. The question will be on the other side to me. That's where the question marks are. Will Kansas City's offense be able to do something against that defense? Obviously, Tyreek Hill is just superhuman.
Yeah.
And we'll see what kind of factor he is in this game. But again, I can't even predict that one. How close is the line on that one, Tommy?
That's got to be close. That's got to be like 2.5.
It's boy, I need my glasses. 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
So that's a tight game.
For Kansas City?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost a pick.
And that's almost a pick 'em, but with the
Right.
home field advantage, or even
Yeah.
favoring Pittsburgh without the home field
Without
advantage.
the home field. Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally we've got Green Bay at Dallas.
Oh, what a game
That's going to be.
It should be a great
it
game.
should be.
Now, Green Bay is without Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they've been without him, and they've done very well at times without him. And whether it's Devontae Adams or Randall Cobb or any of them stepping up to perform, you always get in these playoffs. It's funny, you always get the game that really should be the Super Bowl game. And this could arguably, and I know New England's in the middle, thing.
Right.
Arguably, this could be the Super Bowl game of the year.
Well, again, when we talked about Pittsburgh and firing on all cylinders, Green Bay is really clicking right now. They've turned it up a notch towards the end of the season, and what they've done is remarkable. Because a lot of people had them dead and buried halfway through the season.
Dallas says four. It looks like 4.5.
Looks like 4.5.
It is 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm speaking figuratively, but I guess as much as it pains me to say, I guess I got to take Dallas in this game.
Is it going to be New England Dallas Super Bowl?
I mean, we talked about that about 4
while.
weeks ago.
Yeah,
I think we both sort of said, yeah, probably New England Dallas. Two teams I loathe.
But
the way.
I think Atlanta can give Dallas a hard time because again, it goes to the matchups.
Mm-hmm.
If you had your choice, forget who's good, who's bad.
Yeah.
I'm always an underdog guy, right? I would love to
am I.
see Houston, Atlanta. I'd like to see teams that haven't won the Super Bowl, or Atlanta's been in there once.
Yeah.
Right.
Houston's never been in
Never
it.
been there.
That's the kind of stuff
I'd like to see Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City. Although they won back in the '60s, it's not the obviously I agree with you.
Yeah.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's only 3 teams in the NFL that have never even made, or 4 teams
That haven't made it.
that have never gone to the Super Bowl.
Arizona.
Arizona's there. They went there.
Oh, you're right.
Kurt
Against
Warner.
Pittsburgh. You're right. So it's Jacksonville,
Jacksonville, Houston,
Houston,
Detroit.
Detroit,
and
I don't know.
Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland, right.
Right.
Everybody.
Well, the
else
gimme
is-
was right in front of us, and we didn't see it.
It's too obvious.
Yeah, I
Too
guess
obvious.
too obvious. So anyway, listen, guys, thanks. This was fun today. We had a good time with Seth, and come back.
Whenever you want me.
All right, okay, we can definitely do that. And next time, we'll see how these predictions went, and we'll probably all be wrong. Which, I don't know, man. This year has
Why
not
do you
been.
think I didn't predict anything?
Yeah, right. A very safe move. It's a very safe move.
The
And
Swami didn't predict.
was that a Shonda? Wasn't sure what that was actually. Is there a word for that? I should know. The Greeks have a word for everything, right? They always.
So do the Jews.
Yeah. All right. So for our guest Seth Lubin today, and of course my good partner Matt Posner, I'm Tom Alexander. We're the Irregulars. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.